My French friends don't go on and on about dieting when they need to lose weight. They just make sure they're eating really good ingredients, very simply prepared, and they don't deprive themselves. They let it be food with pleasure. I'm making Poule, which is chicken poached in a broth with vegetables all around it, orange sections in syrup with caramelized zest, salmon en Papilotte, which is cooked in a paper case, and Tizza soup, which is my name for a vegetable soup that is the most delicious way of slimming down I know of. They must be broken. I think I'll put on a particularly nice dress today. I like the French approach to dieting. Because all you have to do is just move around a little more, but you don't have to change the way you eat. And you put on a pretty dress, so you keep a high self-esteem. This is chicken in a pot, or Poule in French. And it is chicken poached with lovely vegetables all around it and a steaming broth. I want to get the chicken cooking. I'm just wrapping it in the cheesecloth so it keeps its shape while it's in the pot. Poaching is a really gentle method and it keeps the meat nice and juicy. And you just whoop, lower it into the pot. I'll season the broth so it will get seasoned that way. I'm going to cover it in chicken stock. You could also use just water because it will make its own broth, but if you use chicken stock then it's a little richer, more flavorful. And I'll just get it covered by adding a little water. The other thing going in here, this stage, is a whole head of garlic. This is a nice springtime dish. A chicken in a pot with all nice new vegetables. Big handful of garlic cloves, just peeled. Then leeks. I always keep a little of the green on there. Now because leek can sometimes be a bit gritty inside, the best way to wash it is just to chop it first if you can, if you're not leaving it whole, and then give it a good rinse. Some thyme and a bay leaf. I'll just give that 20 minutes. And while that's simmering away, I can get some vegetables ready. Where I was started off, I've got carrots, parsnips, baby onions, turnips, and some celery, all very easy to find. The reason I'm only doing the vegetables now is that I'm just going to add them just for the amount of time they need to cook so that they'll be nice and tender but they won't be falling apart. Now little onions, these are pearl onions. The way to get the skins off is to soak them a bit in some warm water. And turnips. This is a true turnip. These are slightly less turnipy, I guess. First thing that goes in is the parsnips. These just need about a 5-minute head start. Just put them in around the chicken. And then you can do 5 minutes of chin-ups. Just kidding. Oh, good. Time to add the rest. These don't need very long, just about, I'd say another 20 minutes, and they'll all be done. power walking in the kitchen. Not really. Lovely. Looks 3-star if you ask me. It reminds me of stews from my youth when the vegetables are cooked nice and soft, but they've pulled in some of the flavor of the broth. I'm just going to finish that in a peaceful place. And next, I'm making dessert. Oranges in syrup with caramelized zest. I'm taking a French approach to dieting, which means to me that I'm still making beautiful food with excellent ingredients, cooked simply, that will give me pleasure and I won't feel deprived at all, including dessert. These are oranges with the zests caramelized and stirred into a syrup that you just spoon over the sections and toss together. It is so glamorous. You feel fed just by looking at them. So the first thing you need to do is get the zests off the oranges. There are a couple of ways you can do this, but the easiest way I find is just to use a vegetable peeler and go all the way around, slicing downwards. Turn your knife so it's just pointing slightly downwards without cutting through the skin, and remove all the white pith from the back. It's almost like filleting a fish. There. And then you just cut them into julienne strips, which means thin laces. And then these, you have to get the white pith off. And trying to take off as little flesh as you can. So I've got some water boiling here. I'm going to drop in all of these because they need to be blanched 3 times. It'll just cook out all that bitter taste. So when they're boiling, you drain them. Rinse them under cold water. Cover them just with water again, cold, and bring it back to a boil. It's boiled once, now it just has to boil this time and 1 more time after that. 3 times in total. So just check all the oranges to make sure all the white is off them. You can either cut them into little sections and remove them like that, or it's also very pretty if you slice them, just like this. Slices into a bowl. Round 2. One more round. So now you have soft, tangled threads, little curls. For the caramel, you need 2 cups of sugar, and you can put it right in the pan, dry, and it will melt. Or you can help it out by just dissolving it a little bit, adding a little water. Watching water boil is no fun, but watching sugar melt is. You want the caramel not too pale, because if it's really pale, then it's just sweet, sweet. So if it gets a bit dark, then it has a slightly more bitter flavor. You don't want it black, obviously, but a little on the dark side gives it a more adult taste. You want all these zests floating around in there. And just cook just for a few minutes until they're translucent, shiny and glistening and coated with a little membrane of sticky caramel. Not hard cracked, they're not crunchy, they're just chewy. So then you have orange slices in a bowl. And you just need to spoon over some of the candied zest with a bit of the syrup. Like that. And almonds just give a little crunch when they're toasted on top, a slight toasted flavor. You don't want too many. It's a very happy combination because you get a fresh squirt of fruit, a little syrup swirling around it, and these great chewy candied bits of orange. And just a bit of cream, but it's still just fruit. Next, I'm making salmon with vegetables en papilotte, which means in a paper case. Looks very dressy on a plate. I think the trick when you start to feel a little snug is not to abandon the things you love, but to just make them with even more care and be even nicer to yourself. This is fish en papilotte, which is fish in a paper case, and I'm making a little julienne vegetable thing to go underneath. So it's very colorful, it's very pretty, it's filling, and slimming. So first, a julienne of vegetables: zucchini, leek, and carrot. This is the kind of dish that is perfect when you're cooking for one or two. There, that didn't take long, did it? Now get the pan hot for the vegetables and the oven hot, 375. I have a piece of salmon for this dish, but you could use halibut. I kind of like a fish that holds together rather than falls apart. All of these can go into the pan at once. A little salt and pepper. I just want to cook these until they're just shy of being completely done, because they're going in the oven again with the fish once they're wrapped up. Still, they need a head start, otherwise they're too crunchy. And a squirt of lemon. And that's the base of the dish done. Being fit is really not about dieting at all. I think it's the worst thing you can do. If you can have a lifestyle that's always active and eat really well every day, then you've won the battle. Now this is called en papilotte because it gets wrapped in a parchment sleeve. You fold the paper in half and then you cut out a big, almost heart shape. Give yourself a little love. I hope I can fit into that by the weekend. Set half the heart on a pan like that, the other half off, and then set a base of all these pretty vegetables. On top of the vegetables, you put fish. This is salmon. I didn't leave the skin on it because it's not going to get crisp in a package like this, and it's always nice if the skin is crisp, otherwise you don't really want it. Now, to dress this up even more, fennel seed and a little bit of quatre épices, which is that well-known French spice mix. You could also use Chinese 5-spice. It's really good with fish too. Season the fish, and then this tasty little spice mixture. Now just a little squirt of lemon juice. A zigzag of olive oil. And then you wrap the heart. And you have this pretty little package, which when it's done, you just slice open, snip it with scissors, open it up, and you've got this perfectly tender fish, lovely vegetables underneath. It just needs about 10 minutes. It depends on the fish, but 8 to 10 minutes usually does it. See how it gets full of air? A nice poofy package. Then you can just slide it onto your plate. And slice in. Snip. You can just tear it open with your fingers too. I would purposely go on a diet just to eat this kind of food. I'm going to stop using that word now. The vegetables still have just a little bit of bite. The fish is perfectly cooked, and the spices go with that so nicely with just that squirt of lemon on top. That is perfect food for your line. And next I'm going to make the best diet soup you've ever had. All kinds of mixed vegetables that blend perfectly together, and you can eat it all week long whenever you're hungry, and it's so soothing and great. You're gonna love me for this one. You're going to thank me for this one. This is what I call Tizza soup because it's named after my friend's mother who gave me the recipe, Madame Tizza. And the great thing about it, it's just a mix of vegetables and you can eat as much of it as you want, whenever you want. It's great for your line, as they say. First leeks, and throw them in the pot. Then potatoes. Courgettes or zucchini are great in soup because they're really light, but they have some body. In fact, you can make whole soups out of just zucchini. Then carrots. You can chop any way you like. There's nothing you can do wrong. You can't chop wrong, you can't overcook. Turnip. Now I'll tell you something about tomatoes that I've discovered with this soup, and that's that when you add just a little bit, they really add a perfect amount of flavor. But if you add too much, then it just becomes almost a tomato sauce thing. And I find that with other recipes too. A little bit of tomato goes a long way. I just cut up 2 artichokes. I just cleaned them off and kept the hearts. Just one more thing. This is vegetable stock. It's organic. You just drop one in for extra taste. And then just some salt. You can always add more at the end. Lots of pepper. And fire it up. I'm just going to cook that until everything is nice and tender. Turn that right off. Just check if they're tender. Potatoes are done. Turnips done. If those are done, everything else is done. So, Now to make this right. Just stick a blender right inside the pot. This is just the soup my stomach wants when I've been eating a little too much. I don't know what it is, but when you mix all those vegetables together, somehow the blend is just perfect and a little miracle happens. It's just ideal diet food. Along with Poule, which is chicken in a pot surrounded by vegetables. I made dessert too, orange slices in a syrup with caramelized zest, salmon en Papilotte with julienne vegetables, and Madame Tizza's miracle slimming soup. Perfect diet food for a whole week. I wonder what my diet should be tomorrow. Maybe a steak diet, or a boeuf bourguignon diet, maybe a pizza diet, or a cake diet.